having looked at four godly, amazing people whose character and whose actions we can look up to and admire, we now come to King Herod, who is the opposite in the story. When we looked at Caesar Augustus, the Roman emperor, we talked about the titles that belonged to Jesus that he took for himself: Son of God, Priest of the world, Almighty One. Well, he also gave a title to Herod, which was King of the Jews. Now, the Herods were a line, a dynasty, so he was related, but it was a different King Herod who was there when Jesus was crucified, and who the Roman governor Pilate put on Jesus' cross, the King of the Jews, which Herod was upset about because that was his title, he said. Herod was only King of the Jews as a clever political appointment by the Romans. He was Jewish by descent, and he was known as Herod the Great because of his incredible ability to build and organize things. But I don't believe he was in any way a believing Jew or somebody who would have understood what we believe as Christians. So when we looked at the character of Mary, Joseph, Elizabeth and Zachariah, we have words like righteous, humble, serving, joyful, willing to follow God, belief and faith, support, a refuge, kept these things in her heart. In King Herod, we find the opposite. The puppet king who served the Romans, not God. Known as the Great because of his building ability, he built the most amazing temple, which was a wonder of the ancient world. Even now you can see the ruined remains of it, even though the Romans destroyed it in 70 AD. And from our understanding and our excavations, even with modern machinery and ability to build things, it's a mystery how he managed it. It was the most amazing place, but it was also built with largely slave labour, which led to people being homeless and hungry. It was built in the face of opposition from priests and Pharisees who told him that he couldn't do what he was doing to Nehemiah and Ezra's temple, which was built out of the rubble of Jerusalem but was built with the right heart for God. He simply murdered them to get his own way. When the Magi come and ask King Herod, where is the Messiah going to be born? He does not even know the most basic of the prophecies from the Old Testament about this, or any seeming understanding about King David and his line and where David came from. He had to ask his advisors, who told him it's Bethlehem. He was proud and arrogant and ruthless, and he was willing to do anything to cling to the power that he had, even though it was only a power granted to him by the great human emperor, who was in opposition to everything that God was wanting to do. And this led to the most terrible thing, that having heard that a king was going to be born in Bethlehem, rather than rejoicing in the idea that God was finally sending his Messiah, that God was going to become a human being and live amongst us, that all of those amazing Old Testament prophecies were finally coming true after all the waiting, all he could think about was his throne and how he was going to save himself from a baby that was going to be born to be a king, he was told. And so he murdered all the baby boys in Bethlehem under 2 in a moment of immense darkness and evil. Can anything good be said about King Herod? No. He was dark, he was evil, he was proud, he was arrogant, he was ruthless. And because of his own insecurity, in the face of all the faith that you see in these other people who have little control over their situations and yet show obedience and faith in God, Herod's actions lead to death and destruction, and to Jesus becoming a homeless refugee. He is a reminder of the level of darkness in our world. he is a reminder of the reason that Jesus needed to be the light of the world, and a reminder that if we are arrogant and proud and selfish and ruthless, we are capable of doing the most terrible things. Whereas if we serve God and are humble and follow his ways, we are capable of doing the most amazing, beautiful and loving things.